of the corridors of justice, and in the county of Mombasa, O'Brien Kimani is standing by for an insightful live conversation with architect Sylvester Muli. The pictures on your screen are coming live from Mombasa. This and much more, but first, the highlights. He was brought here in the morning for questioning. He said that his utterances, the verbal utterances, amount to the violation of Section 22, which deals with the data violation. Juja MP George Koimburi in police custody following claims that billions of taxpayers' money went into the failed Raila Odinga's AUC campaign.
Separating noise from demonstration, so that those two are separated, so that you're only allowed to demonstrate and make your petition known without involving noise in your demonstration.
Demos without noise. The National Police Service wants Parliament to enact a law that will ban noise during demonstrations. And National Assembly and the Senate eulogize fallen Member of Parliament for Malava, Malulu Ijendi, and the late Baringo Senator William Cheptumo. A warm welcome to the broadcast. My name is Muchuma Odim. Our sign language expert tonight is Anne Wangeshi. My colleague Tom Boyer is away for a couple of days. He will be with us soon. Let's have a conversation on our social media platforms at KBC Channel 1 on X, YouTube, and Facebook. Our lead story tonight, Juja Member of Parliament George Koimburi is currently detained at Kamkunji Police Station after he was arrested on Tuesday morning. His arrest comes a day after Koimburi claimed that the Kenyan government allocated 13 billion shillings to support Raila Odinga's bid to be chair of the African Union Commission. Earlier in the day, the legislator was taken to the Directorate of Criminal Investigations headquarters along Kiambu Road for questioning. Khalid Abdullahi begins our coverage tonight.
On Tuesday morning, Juja Member of Parliament George Koimburi was reportedly apprehended outside his home and taken to the Directorate of Criminal Investigations DCI headquarters along Kiambu Road for questioning. He was taken into custody moments after leaving his residence in Juja. Koimburi's arrest came after he went viral for claiming that the government allegedly spent 13 billion shillings campaigning for former Prime Minister Raila Odinga in the African Union Commission AUC elections.
A member of parliament is given an opportunity by the Constitution to oversight, to represent, and of course to come up with laws. So when Koimburi questions how much money was used to campaign for one defeated Raila Odinga, how much was used? That is a question any member of parliament would use.
His lawyer Ndegwa Njiru defended him, saying demanding accountability on expenditure is not a criminal offense.
He's being charged with offenses under the Cyber Crimes Act. He said that his utterances, the verbal utterances, amount to the violation of Section 22, which deals with the data violation. So Mr. Koimburi perhaps is a computer or a phone gadget that is capable of making those violations. They have taken him to Kamukunji right now. They have refused to give him bail, but we are also engaging other facilities to ensure that we secure his freedom.
Meanwhile, a section of Koimburi's colleagues in the National Assembly has condemned his allegations on the use of public funds to campaign for Raila Odinga and that African leaders were influenced to vote for the Kenyan candidate.
For the member for Juja to have uttered the unfortunate and careless words that he uttered over the weekend. And shamelessly, Honorable Speaker, in a church, on a pulpit, saying that other African leaders were being bribed, Honorable Speaker.
I want to also congratulate and thank His Excellency President William Ruto for the work that he has done for Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga in this regard, Mr. Speaker.
Koimburi allegedly made the allegations at PCA Juja Farm Parish on Sunday, 16th February 2025.
From the DCI to the latest developments outside Afya House, clinical officers under the Universal Health Coverage Program have joined the ongoing strike over the failure of the government to absorb them on permanent and pensionable terms. The clinical officers say that their current short-term contract has subjected them to suffering as they earn half of what their colleagues earn. The decision comes just hours after clinical officers countrywide began their strike. Here is that report.
The UHC clinical officers were among 8,500 health workers across all cadres employed in 2020 on contractual terms to advance universal health coverage and aid in the war against COVID-19, and are the latest to announce their strike. They say that for the last 5 years, they have been subjected to punitive contracts despite working with dedication.
The first contract ended without being reimbursed our gratuity, which we deserve. It is our right.
We have, sadly, our officers who are severely underpaid to an extent that we are having some of the members, some have decided to take up their lives.
It is no longer tenable to be at a place where you don't have job security, to be at a place where you are paid half the salary of what your counterparts are paid, irrespective of the fact that you're offering same services.
Their current contracts will expire in April 2026, and they're staring at possible job losses as the recent budget policy statement for the 2025-2026 financial year does not include them.
Meaning, unless they are in this budget, they are going to be jobless in 2026. We know that the supplementary budget is in Parliament, and we are asking that they be accommodated within that supplementary budget.
They have vowed to remain on strike until they are absorbed on permanent and pensionable terms.
Beginning tonight, no clinical officer under the UHC program will be attending work, and we will be in the street until we get what is righteously ours.
Meanwhile, clinical officers who started their strike at midnight have said that the government has not reached out.
We do not want meetings. Everything that needed to be negotiated, everything that needed to be met on is already written down on paper and directives given, so we want implementation.
Among the demands by the clinical officers is the empanelment of clinical officer-owned facilities under the Social Health Authority, as well as allowing clinical officers to fill out pre-authorization forms.
Solidarity forever.
Nancy Okware, Prime Edition.
Developments tonight. The National Police Service is calling for stricter measures to protect Kenyans and their property against the impact of demonstrations. The police want Parliament to outlaw noise pollution during picketing. In a rejoinder, however, the Independent Policing Oversight Authority has cautioned members of Parliament against passing laws that will further limit fundamental rights.
The Assembly and Demonstration Bill 2024, sponsored by Mbeere North MP Geoffrey Roku, currently before the National Assembly Administration and Security Committee, seeks to regulate demonstrations by specifying prohibitions and imposing liability for damage on the convener of the demos. Appearing before the Security Committee, the National Police Service and the National Police Service Commission supported the bill, calling for stricter measures to protect Kenyans not interested in the demos. The security agencies urged MPs to include provisions to restrict protesters from making noise during the picketing.
There must be a way of managing, separating noise from demonstration, so that we do not have a group that has hired a DJ or an MC to run around town, entertaining town, and then in the middle, then they will say what they want to say. So that those two are separated, so that you're only allowed to demonstrate and make your petition known without involving noise in your demonstration.
Where does the responsibility lay? Because a law that does not spell out responsibility, either to the protester or to the enforcer, then it means it is a law that is on a limb.
The Independent Policing Oversight Authority, however, opposed the bill, arguing it gives wide discretion and powers to police officers, as well as limits the rights of Kenyans.
This bill, in our view, gives wide discretion and powers and is overly broad. It is very limiting with regard to the rights in Article 37. Chair and members, the manner of limiting rights is already provided for in Article 24 of the Constitution. And the Constitution requires that when you are limiting rights under Article 24, 2B and C of the Constitution, that the limitation must be specific on the nature and extent of that limitation. And secondly, you cannot limit a right in a manner in which takes away that right.
IPOA instead called for withdrawal of the bill to allow the ongoing review of the Public Order Act.
What this amendment?
Meanwhile, the National Assembly Transport Committee is considering a bill sponsored by Limuru MP John Kiragu that seeks to give the National Transport and Safety Authority NTSA powers to regulate and investigate all forms of accidents, including air, sea and land.
But the most important thing is to have this body to take care of the accident and incident investigation, but it must also be seen in the eyes of the public and everybody that is an independent body.
Gishoki Washira, Prime Edition.
Glad you're watching Prime Edition. We are taking our first commercial break. We'll be back with more with the details and clarity you deserve. Stay with us.
Hii Macadamia iko kwa star 570 hash. Cheza sahihi ikiwa ni option 2, 3 na 4. Ama pia unaweza cheza kwa tushinde.com. Register, deposit na ucheze. Cheza wakati wowote na ucheze mara kadhaa ili kujaza entry ticket zako kwenye draw ya ushindi. Inuka na Loto Moto.
Juma hili kwenye mkulima tutamfuga mbuzi wa maziwa.
Maziwa ya mbuzi iko na nutrients mingi compared to maziwa ya ng'ombe. Ukiangalia mbuzi wakati zinazaliwa ziko na nguvu ya kutembea wakati zimezaliwa. So calcium content yake ni mzuri hata kwa watoto wenye wanazaliwa na pia wale watu wajawazito na wamama wazee.
Kisha nguruwe. Usikose kujumuika nasi siku ya Jumamosi saa 10:30 upate uhondo kamili.
Sasa wewe uko na shida ya macho na mwenye anakuwa pia ako na shida ya macho, mtasaidiana aje?
Being the fact that nyinyi wawili hamuoni, mtamanuva aje?
Wewe ambaye ni mlemavu kwa hapo nyumbani, wacha kuona ulemavu wako. Kama kuko na kitu unaweza fanya, tokea tufanye.
Welcome back to Prime Edition. Now, onto the corridors of justice. Sarah Wairimu, the widow of the late Tob Cohen, has suffered a legal setback after the High Court in Kibra denied her bail. Sarah, who has been in remand at the Langata Women's Prison, has pleaded with the court to conditionally release her as she battles allegations of involvement in the murder of the Dutch. In her ruling, Justice Diana Kavetza stated that she was convinced by the prosecution that Wairimu's release could interfere with the case. Here is that report by Ruth Mamboy.
Sarah Wairimu will be remanded at Langata Women's Prison until two crucial witnesses testify in a case where she is charged in the murder of her late Dutch husband Tob Cohen.
It is my considered view, therefore, that the principles of justice and public interest outweigh the accused's right to liberty at this stage.
This is after Kibera High Court denied her bond after the prosecution opposed her release. Justice Diana Kavetza said the court must safeguard the integrity of the trial by protecting witnesses and preventing potential interference.
Given the unpredictable nature of when and from where threats might arise, courts maintain the authority to implement protective measures for witnesses at any stage of the proceedings.
The court, in denying her bail, said the submission made by the DPP that she is likely to intimidate or interfere with the witnesses has been proven with sufficient evidence.
The evidence on record indicates that attempts were made by the accused or her associates to intimidate the witnesses, thereby deterring them from giving testimony against the accused.
Wairimu was rearrested in January this year after the DPP, Renson Mulele, preferred fresh charges against her. The case will be mentioned virtually on 26 February for pre-trial directions.
On behalf of the family, we feel that justice is beginning to take its course, bearing in mind that this is a matter that has taken 6 years to begin.
One compelling reason by the prosecution that two chief witnesses must testify has made Wairimu to continue cooling her feet in prison. And Nakuru High Court has sentenced Nakuru Governor Susan Kihika and Nakuru Water and Sanitation Services Company Managing Director James Nganga to a 7-month jail term with an option of a 2 million fine. The virtual ruling comes after Governor Kihika and Nganga were found guilty of contempt of court for illegally disposing of waste into Lake Nakuru.
They've also been ordered to restore the lake within 6 months. So we plan to take a mention in 6 months and confirm the position.
Elsewhere, Chief Magistrate Court at Milimani has slapped 5 individuals accused of stealing 83 million Kenya shillings from the Kenya Union of Savings and Credit Cooperative Limited with a bond of between 7 and 10 million shillings.
Bond of 1 million Kenya shillings plus 2 sureties of similar amount or a cash bail of 200,000 plus 3 contact persons. We come for pre-trial on the 6th day of March 2025.
Trial Magistrate Dolphina Alego declined to adjust the bail terms despite a defense request, citing it is commensurate with the offenses committed. Ruth Wamboy for Prime Edition.
Meanwhile, Chief Justice Martha Koome has reaffirmed their commitment to the fight against corruption in the judiciary. Speaking at a Mombasa hotel during a meeting of the National Council on the Administration of Justice, the Chief Justice noted that they have put mechanisms in place that will assist the judiciary and its stakeholders fight the vice effectively and expeditiously. She called upon Kenyans to work closely with the judiciary and be at the forefront of the fight against corruption. She also disclosed that in March they will be launching an anti-corruption guiding framework which will guide them on how to address issues of corruption.
We have to prevent corruption at all costs in all our institutions. We have to support the investigating arm. We have also to protect the witnesses who owned very crucial evidence that will enable our institutions deal with issues of corruption firmly. We have to prosecute these corruption cases efficiently and expeditiously. We have painstakingly developed and draft anti-corruption strategic guiding framework to which we are finalizing here and which we are going to launch in the month of March. And this is the framework that is guiding each and every one of us on how to effectively address the issues of corruption in all its facets. We have good practices that have succeeded in the fight against corruption, and we are going to scale these best practices to see to it that we eradicate the vice. But in all this, we will need the cooperation of the members of public who should say no to corruption and who should report any incidences of corruption.
Onto a story we highlighted for you. Parliament has mourned the demise of Baringo Senator William Cheptumo and Malava Member of Parliament Malulu Ijendi, describing their deaths as a great loss to the nation. Speaker of the National Assembly Moses Wetangula and Deputy Speaker of the Senate Kathuri Murungi led legislators in paying tribute to their two colleagues, praising their dedication to public service and commitment to their constituents.
Senator William Cheptumo died on Saturday. A seasoned lawmaker, was a former chair of the Senate Justice and Legal Affairs Committee and equally served as Baringo North Member of Parliament for 3 terms.
Was still waters which ran deep, because he knew the length and depth of all the legislative agenda which was in this parliament.
Mr. Senator Cheptumo was a person who is very humble, down to earth, very peaceful, very consultative, and you will not find him anytime annoyed.
Hawa wote ambao hivi sasa wanaomboleza ni kwamba wanaomboleza jinsia ya familia zao, vile waliweza kumpenda marehemu na hatimaye Mwenyezi Mungu alimpenda zaidi.
The late Malulu Ijendi was serving his 3rd term representing Malava constituency and was the vice chairperson of the National Assembly's Education Committee.
The late Ijendi was proud of his Catholic faith and was always visibly wearing his rosary at all times. Indeed, in the year 2023, he requested and received a special rosary right from the Vatican, blessed by the Pope.
Was one of the greatest supporters who contributed immensely in education. Mr. Ijendi, Honorable Ijendi, was also a lecturer and a person who also loved the Catholic faith.
The love Honorable Ijendi Mululu had for his constituents, Mr. Speaker, was immeasurable. I remember during the elections, Mr. Speaker, we were campaigning and we had a candidate as a party against him, Mr. Speaker. But when we visited the constituency, we were told categorically that the most popular person in this constituency is Malulu Ijendi, Mr. Speaker.
Meanwhile, in Malava, a somber mood engulfed Lukusi village, with relatives and friends struggling to come to terms with the news of Ijendi's demise. The legislator died on Monday at a Nairobi hospital while undergoing treatment.
Sisi mtoto mkubwa atatangulia kusika na mheshimiwa atakuwa nyuma. Mtoto ya kwanza atakuwa na sherehe yake na mheshimiwa tena atakuwa nyuma na sherehe yake.
Ngekuja mnakaa kwa nyazi na yeye, mnakula mrenda, tunafurahia. Alikuwa ametushikilia licha ya kwamba ameenda na hakuwa amekamilisha kazi ambazo alikuwa ametuahidi kututendea.
Mheshimiwa alikuwa analilia mambo ya sub-county, na ile sub-county ya Malava ilikuja ikagawanywa ikakuwa mara 2, Kabras East na Kabras West. So kwa heshima ya mheshimiwa, ningeomba serikali next week kabla tuzike mheshimiwa tukue tumeletewa DCC na ile sub-county iko inafanya kazi.
The late Ijendi will be buried on the 4th of March 2025. For Prime Edition, I'm Gladys Mongai.
Here we go.
favorite team and win big on michezobet.com. Casino, Aviator, and other crash games also available at Michezobet. Sign up today. This message has been approved by BCLB license number 664. Gambling can be addictive. Play responsibly. Terms and conditions apply.
Kuhusu na hii kesi ni ya mtu mlagai. Mtu ambaye ana huruma.
If you acknowledge,
ndio,
how comes a big person like you, you are giving passengers, part vehicle? Why?
Are you listening to yourself?
I'm listening myself.
Unajisikiza ukiongea?
Of course, why not? So, kielele ndio nini umeleta hapa kwa koti?
Kielele tena? Wewe unahatarisha maisha.
Hii ni kielele
Yamekuja kama ushahidi.
Na umesema chio ilikuwa imevunjika huko
nyuma.
Haki nini wachinga kweli?
Kupata na hatia ya kosa hilo na imekufunga kifungo cha miaka 6.
Sita.
Hesabu 1 2 3 4 5 6.
Kwa mtu ana watoto 7 kama mimi.
Sasa wewe uko na shida ya macho na mwenye anakuwa pia ako na shida ya macho, mtasaidiana aje?
Being the fact that nyinyi wawili hamuoni, mtamanuva aje?
Wewe ambaye ni mlemavu kwa hapo nyumbani, wacha kuona ulemavu wako. Kama kuko na kitu unaweza fanya, tokea tufanye.
The young generation awakens on Y254, the leading youth TV station in Kenya. We treat you to current affairs, entrepreneurship, health, and human interest conversations.
It's art, it's culture.
Movies, gossip and trends, sports, drama.
We bring you a vibe like no other, straight to your living room.
To keep you informed, inspired, entertained, and most of all, refreshed. We are such a vibe. Y254. Imagine.
Glad you're watching Prime Edition, and thank you for your feedback on our social media platforms. Quick acknowledgements. Faming Koech, you're watching KBC Channel 1 from Lokichar. Joel Lekapune, watching all the way from Kiambu. Lawrence Nyabuto, and you're saying you have watched the news, and Juja Member of Parliament should eat his own words. And at this point, we are now going live to the county of Mombasa, where an able team is on the ground. My colleague Brian Kimani is on standby for a one-on-one conversation with architect Sylvester Muli, who is the chairperson, Board of Registration of Architects and Quantity Surveyors. O'Brien, good evening from the coastal parts of the country.
Well, thank you. Irene Muchuma back there in Broadcasting House. That's true. We are here at the coast and, of course, enjoying the beautiful breeze coming from the Indian Ocean, which is just about 5 meters from where we are. That's where the beach starts. And, of course, listening to some beautiful music by Jimi Hendrix. I don't know whether you can hear that, and I don't even know whether you know that kind of music. It goes back way to 1960s and 50s. But, of course, I mean, that's what Mombasa is for, plus more, and that's why we are here, because we want to discuss what has been happening since yesterday. It has been a meeting of technical people, experts, and I'm talking about engineers, architects, quantity surveyors, security officers, disaster management people. They have been meeting here under the auspice of the multi-sectoral agency consultative committee, which is as the name denotes, an organization that brings together various players from various fields, from the National Construction Authority, BORAX, which stands for the Board of Registration of Quantity Surveyors of Architects and Quantity Surveyors, Engineers Board of Kenya, the National Police, National Disaster Management Authority. All of them are here. They're going to be here for the next 5 days. 2 days already gone, and of course what they're discussing here is how to safeguard the built environment here in Kenya, and of course to deal with the issues of collapsing buildings, because you know for sure that has been a crisis in the past. In the last 10 years, Kenya has lost more than 220 people due to incidences of collapsing buildings, and of course we have had a situation where thousands have been maimed or injured in this case, and that's why tonight we just want to look at the role of quantity surveyors and architects in the built environment. And we are talking to the chairperson of the Board of Architects, Board of Registration of Architects and Quantity Surveyors. This is Architect Sylvester Muli. He's quite an experienced architect. He's been here for quite a long time. He's seen some of the most iconic structures in Kenya coming up, and so he's going to share with us his insights around these, and of course the role of architects and quantity surveyors in the built environment. Thank you very much indeed, Architect, for joining us here, and of course for swinging by KBC. Help us understand what is the link between MSAC, or the multi-sectoral committee, and the Board of Registration of Architects and Quantity Surveyors.
Thank you, Brian, for having me around to be able to talk about the practice of architecture and quant surveying and the linkage between architects and quant surveyors and MSAC. First of all, I'd like to talk about BORAX, which is the Board of Registration of Architects and Quant Surveyors of Kenya. It's a board under a Government Act, Cap 525 of the Laws of Kenya, established in 1934 to regulate the profession of architects and quant surveyors in Kenya by way of registering architects and quant surveyors. Anybody calling himself an architect or quant surveyor is a person who is registered by the Board of Registration of Architects and Quant Surveyors and appears in the register of both architects and quant surveyors. The multi-sectoral agency consultative committee is a committee established by government to be able to look at the built environment, and more so to make the built environment safe for Kenyans. It's composed of several agencies, and the Board of Registration of Architects and Quant Surveyors is one of those agencies, principally because architects and quant surveyors play a very key role in the construction industry. Indeed, the architect is principally the first person who comes in during the construction period by way of obtaining the brief from any developer or client, translating that into drawings by way of design, making the specifications, and supervising the construction. The QS, again, will be there to monitor the construction cost of the building, to manage everything so that the client gets value for money during the life cycle of the project. So BORAX is a very key player in MSAC. It heads a committee which looks at the approvals and the construction processes, and also aids in developing standard operating procedures that can be applied when a building is declared unsafe, whether it is collapsing or whether it has got any defects. So board, together with other players in the agency, they move and they are able to make recommendations to the committee for appropriate action.
Architect Muli, you have almost in the business of architect. You've been in the public service for more than 30 years, and you have served as the chair of BORAX for the last 6 years. And so you come with tremendous amount of experience and expertise in this field. We started experiencing cases of buildings collapsing about 10, 12, 14 years ago. Before then, it was very rare. What was happening then that is not happening now from an architectural perspective?
think one of the major collapses that came into light and people get to know it was the collapse of the Sunbeam Building, because supermarket, because one, there were a lot of lives that were lost, and it was again in the middle of town, so it was very difficult to escape the eyes.
That was in 1996?
Approximately there. And thereafter, a few others have collapsed. That time, the sequence, the duration for collapsing was not as close. But you'll also note at that time, the construction industry had not grown. In Kenya now, the construction industry has grown by bound and leaps. Everywhere there's construction. And everybody wants to do construction in a very fast way. And when you do things fast, mistakes do happen. Yeah. And that's why you are experiencing collapsing once in a while. Since MSAC was established, I think the process of inspections has been tremendous, and the collapsing has reduced. We've not had a collapse except the one which collapsed recently, but people have been evacuated. People are now keen. People have been enlightened on what they need to do. And one of the key issues is involvement of professionals in the construction process, from design to construction and supervision. People are getting now aware that they require those professionals, architects, quantity surveyors, and engineers and others, so that they can be able to supervise and manage the works during construction. Contractors have also been enlightened by NCA, so that they know the processes to follow, and they undergo extensive training, so that they know what to do, who to employ, and what not to do during construction. This has greatly helped, so that now the collapsing of building has reduced, and we are getting more safer buildings as we are today. Yeah.
You're talking about an institution in about 9 years from now. You are going to celebrate 100 years of existence. And we still have a situation whereby people do not differentiate between an engineer, an architect, and a quantity surveyor. Who does what?
An architect and an engineer do design, but different designs. An architect and a quantity surveyors are registered by the Board of Registration of Architects and Quantity Surveyors. Engineers are registered by the Engineers Board of Kenya. The architect will do the designs. Once they finish, they will give the engineers. The engineers are several. You will get a structural engineer who is involved in the structural integrity of the building. They will design the structure so that it can be able to withstand all loading, wind loads, and even earthquakes. You will get a mechanical engineer. He will design the services, the plumbing, and everything that goes with the building, air conditioning, etc., the mechanical services. Then you get an electrical engineer who will do now basically the wiring of the building, the lighting, and CCTV, and so many things now. They are getting more modern. That's the electrical engineer. Everybody does their own, but they all fit in the design which has been done by the architect. The quantity surveyor does the costing. He will establish what is the cost of the building, how much you need to pay at every different stages. They will monitor whether you are going beyond your budget or you are within the budget, and they'll be able to advise the client so that you can either scale down what you're doing, reduce on the specifications, and so forth. So those are the differences. We've got others now who are coming, professions which are developing because of modernity. We've got landscape architects who do the landscape. We've got interior designers who do the insides. We've got traffic engineers. We've got many other people who are coming now because we are getting many more professions coming into the build industry. But all of them are fitting in so that at the end of the day, you get a building which has got everything as envisaged by the client.
Help me understand. Borax has been around since 1934. In a country where you have almost 60 million people, the population of architects is about 1,490. The population of quantity surveyors is about 1,000. Is that a good number?
It's not about number. The number of architects in the Borax register is about 2,300. The quant surveyors about 1,800. But the ones who are in active practice are the numbers you've given. Architects are 1,396. Quant surveyors are 1,109. Those are the ones in practice.
Those are the ones that are practicing.
Yes. One, training of architects is quite expensive in Kenya. That's why we've got very few schools of architecture. I think we've got now a maximum of 5. And each of them doesn't have very big numbers because of the amount it takes to train an architect, even engineers per se, and quant surveyors. So we still have small numbers, but we note the last few years we've gotten a good increase because the numbers coming out of the universities are now increasing. We used to have about 30 per year, about 20, but now we are talking about 100, 150, so the numbers are increasing. In the next couple of years, we'll have a lot of architects and quant surveyors in Kenya. Yes.
At any given time, I mean, thinking about, construction, or a project, the people that you hear a lot are engineers. You don't get to hear so much about quantity surveyors. You don't get to hear a lot about architects. Is it to say that, does it mean that they are not as critical as engineers in the value chain?
It's only that people out there know about engineers. We are all called engineers, but there are architects and there are quant surveyors who are critically important in the development around. What we are doing as a board, we are sensitizing the public. We're going around talking to people in the counties and everywhere about what an architect does, who is an architect, and when they need an architect. So the awareness about architects and quant surveyors is also increasing. People now are beginning to differentiate who is a quant surveyor and who is an architect, instead of calling everybody an engineer. But even a mechanic, they are called engineers. Even contractors are called engineers. Yes.
Everybody, I mean, calling themselves engineers. I mean, yes. But help us understand these. So, as a board, what are you doing to encourage more young people to join the training of architects and quantity surveyors so that we can increase the number? Because I bet with the ongoing affordable housing project and of course aspirations of Vision 2030, we are going to need more quantity surveyors and more architects.
As a board, we do a lot of mentorship also in schools. We go to schools to talk about career guidance, where we talk to those students who may wish to take architecture as a course. We talk to them and explain what they need to do and the benefits associated with doing architecture and quant surveying. The spaces available, as I said earlier, in the colleges are limited, but we still get now an increasing number because people are aware of what it is about architecture and quant surveying. Mm-hmm. Yes, we also have, by way of our works, young people are seeing what they need to know about architecture by what is happening in the environment, and they're learning and they're getting a lot of interest in architecture and quant surveying.
And the other challenge is the issue of a brain drain, where you have architects and quantity surveyors going to practice overseas and countries like the United States, Europe, and so much. Is there anything we can do to reverse that brain drain?
It is not that it is bad for us, because some are going and others are remaining. We are, as a board, we've been trying to expand the space for architectural practice and quant surveying practice in Kenya and in the region. We've got a mutual recognition agreement with the region so that our architects and quant surveyors can be able to practice within the region. That is Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, and Burundi without any interference. We are, through the Ministry of Trade, we are also engaged in what is called Africa Free Trade in Services, so that we can have other countries open up for Kenyan professionals. Then we'll have architects and quant surveyors practice anywhere within Africa. This way, that as we continue getting more graduates from architecture and quant surveying, they will also have space We have got our architects who are practicing in South Africa. We've got in Zimbabwe, Zambia. We've got in DRC, Uganda, and Seychelles, and they are doing well.
Very good.
Yeah.
I mean, I just want you to look into that camera and talk to the people who are watching you and tell them the importance of having architects in any project.
Any project requires a lot of thinking. And when you get an architect involved in the building, you'll be able to take you the process of design and the construction and specifications. An architect is just not there for doing drawings. It's there to manage a project. A quantity surveyor is not there just to do bills of quantities, but they are there to be able to manage a project throughout the life cycle. When you get to use the professionals, then you are able to get proper good advice, and you will end up with a good project, which is value for money. Yeah. Yes.
And what is the message to the young people watching this show and they are aspiring to become quantity surveyors and architects?
Architecture and quantity surveyor are noble professions. There is a lot of enjoyment in doing architecture. There is a lot of enjoyment, fulfillment in doing quantity surveying. The professions are growing. They are growing, and there is space for more architects and quantity surveyors. And as I said, we are creating space outside Kenya where they can be able to go and practice. So I would welcome anybody who wants to study architecture and quantity surveyor. Welcome, it's a good profession.
Very good. Thank you very much indeed for joining us here in Mombasa, and of course for helping us understand the different role played by architects, quantity surveyors, engineers, and other critical players in the built environment. Your time is highly appreciated. And of course, we appreciate for swinging by on this show.
Thank you.
Asante sana.
Thank you very much.
Asante. We've been talking to architect Sylvester Muli. He's a chairperson of the Board of Registration of Architects and Quantity Surveyors, joining here in Mombasa during the ongoing MSAC committee meetings. And of course, my name is O'Brien Kimani. You've been watching us live from Mombasa. We're taking a break, and thereafter we'll take you back to Broadcasting House. Asante. Have a good night.
Kashamba, Kajuja, mali safi. Worth 1.7 million Kenyan shillings na kamejiset kwa *570# na tushinde.com. Na ukiwahi unaongezewa 1 million Kenyan shillings ya kujenga kwa shamba yako. Na bado kuna nini hiyo side nyingine? Hapa ndio mwisho. Weekly draw ya chapa bado iko na zawadi pia ni za kuinua. Iko Probox new model, iko Master Demio. Cheza mara kadhaa na uweze kujipatia entry tickets kibao na uboost chance yako ya kujishindia kwenye draw zetu. Kila kona imejazwa kwa *570# option 2, 3 na 4 na tushinde.com, na kwako ni kuinuka na Lotomato.
Saum imefaradhishiwa wote ambao ni waumini ili waweze kumcha Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Ya Allah kwetu sisi kufunga mwezi mzima. Hizi ndizo funga somu za mtume ambao walitangulia kabla ya mtume, na pia na funga ya mtume sallallahu alaihi wasallam, na funga yetu sisi umati Muhammadin. Basi Mungu atujalie tupate mazuri ya somu.
Na sujudu mbele zako, naomba unisamehe.
Glad you're watching Prime Edition. In business, savings and credit cooperatives in financial distress are being audited as the government steps up prosecution of Sacco officials who have misappropriated members' savings. Cooperatives Cabinet Secretary Wycliffe Oparanya says plans are underway to tighten the regulation of Saccos.
Kenya Union of Savings and Credit Cooperatives officials have been charged over misappropriation of 13 billion shillings. Cooperatives Cabinet Secretary Wycliffe Oparanya says a number of Saccos are in financial distress, which has prompted the government to commission forensic audits to establish the root cause of their financial positions.
The equity of Sacco sector. The government is implementing decisive measures to address financial mismanagement. Individuals found culpable will be held accountable through the appropriate legal and administrative frameworks.
Oparanya says regulations of Saccos is being tightened to seal some of the loopholes that have been exploited by officials to defraud members' savings.
Moving forward, similar measures will be taken against any cooperative leaders who misappropriate or mismanage members' funds. Let me clear, this will no longer be tolerated.
He is also challenging Saccos to strengthen their internal systems so as to minimize cases of fraud and misappropriation.
It will serve as a stark reminder of the importance of robust governance, stringent internal controls, and sound financial management.
Oparanya says Cusco is being restructured to effectively carry out its advocacy and training mandates. Benson Rioba reporting for Prime Edition.
From regulation of Saccos to agricultural matters, agricultural yields are likely to be increased by 30% if women have access to the right resources. The Women's Voices Conference had that bridging the gap, the gender gap in agriculture, requires improved access to finance, markets, training, and digital tools for women.
The three-day women-led conference brought together participants from over 20 countries, advocating for policy reforms and increased investment in women-led solutions.
Strengthening women's voices in agri-food system is not just an option, it's a necessity. Governments, businesses, researchers, and communities must work together to remove barriers, invest in women-led solutions, and create inclusive spaces where women can lead.
While highlighting that women play a critical role across the agricultural value chain, from planting and harvesting to agro-processing, they called for elimination of discriminatory land ownership laws to ensure a more inclusive and equitable agricultural sector.
Are a key actor along the whole agriculture value chain. They act as farmers, processors, retailers, entrepreneurs, and consumers. Worldwide, women make up 43% of the agriculture workforces, and in Africa even 50%. Nevertheless, they make up less than 15% of landowners worldwide.
Support to have access to training, for example, or to change laws, for example, also to end the discriminatory situation, especially for widows, but also to get access to finance, to machines. So basically, every equipment what is also necessary in agriculture so is needed to support them to better work and more effective work.
They believe enhancing women's skills, fostering innovation, and strengthening farm management will drive food security, climate resilience, sustainable development, and economic growth. Werin Mujenga for Prime Edition.
Kenya requires to mobilize at least 260 billion shillings annually for infrastructure projects. National Treasury Cabinet Secretary John Mbadi says the cash will be raised from the private sector using the public-private partnership model. Here now is Regina Manyara with the details.
The media industry has employed the use of emerging technologies such as artificial
The servicing of the public debt that has increased to 1.2 trillion shillings, with the National Treasury projecting that the figure is likely to hit 1.9 trillion shillings in the 2026-2027 financial year. Financing of development projects have recent years been affected by the increasing amount allocated for servicing public debt. To address this, National Treasury Cabinet Secretary John Badi says the government is keen on stepping up the public-private partnership model. In the proposed 2025 budget policy statement, Badi says it is estimated that the country requires approximately $2 billion per year to bridge the infrastructure funding deficit. He says the public-private partnership model has been identified as one of the key avenues to partly fill the financing gap occasioned by ongoing fiscal consolidation and reducing of government borrowing. So far, 140.7 billion shillings has been mobilized through the public-private partnerships. Badi says there are 37 projects in the pipeline that are expected to be undertaken using the public-private partnership model. 4 projects are expected to use the public-private partnership model in the 2025-2026 financial year. They are the Sabaki Water Carrier Project, Street Lighting in Nairobi, Stony Athi Affordable Housing Project, and the Mombasa-Nairobi Expressway. Regina Manyara reporting for Prime Edition.
Apologies for the hitch in that story. Now, on to AI matters. There is need to create an artificial intelligence regulatory framework that focuses on ethical standards for AI-driven media tools, transparency in algorithmic decision-making, and clear guidelines on the responsible use of AI in content production. Media Council of Kenya Regional Coordinator Karanja Jackson has highlighted the need to develop policies that advocate responsible use of technology and upholding journalistic integrity amid increased use of AI-powered tools in content generation.
The media industry has employed the use of emerging technologies such as artificial intelligence in the operations, with some content developed using AI. The issue of intellectual property has taken prominence, with some saying the AI should be credited. This has prompted the Media Council of Kenya, which regulates journalism, to weigh into the matter.
It's about us looking at how we can leverage the use of AI in the media industry. And you see, if we just look at AI as an animal, we will then say that all other forms of technology and advancements in technology that we've witnessed are not there to assist us.
Karanja says algorithms that drive AI tools can significantly influence the narratives presented to the public, hence the need for the audience to be sensitized on how these technologies work and their potential biases.
So we should look at AI as an enabler of our work as the media. Look at AI as an enabler and not as an animal that has come to take away what we are doing as journalists.
He says those in the media industry should be keen on ensuring that technological advancements do not compromise the foundational values of journalism.
This is for us to figure out, like, what can we do that AI cannot do, you know? And that's the thing that I'm coming back with. Regulation that is more thoughtful, training of talent.
Frederick Moki for Prime Edition.
Favorite team and win big on MeChezoBet.com. Casino, Aviator, and other crash games also available at MeChezoBet. Sign up today. This message has been approved by BCLB license number 664. Gambling can be addictive. Play responsibly. Terms and conditions apply.
A very good evening to you. My name is Daniel Wahome and welcome to Prime Edition Sport. And the race to represent Kenya next season's CAF Confederation Cup kicks off this weekend after the draw for the 2025 FKF Mozartbet Cup was conducted on Monday night in Nairobi. Holders Kenya Police FC will start their title defense against Naivasha's Superior Hotels FC. The stage is set for the 2025 Mozartbet Cup. 64 teams from across the country were drawn to contest for glory in Kenyan football's oldest cup competition at a ceremony held in Nairobi on Monday night. Holders Police FC have been drawn against Naivasha's Superior Hotel. 10-time champions AFC Leopards will meet Dero FC from Siaya. Gor Mahia will face Kenya School of Government Ogopa FC, while Bandari will face Kwale's Ruafa in some of the top-tier versus lower league matchups. Speaking after the draw, FKF President Hussein Mohammed said that he expects the tournament to reignite grassroots football.
There are bigger, better things also to come in the near future. So it's a very exciting time for Kenyan football. Of course, it will take some time to fix it, but we are committed, we are ready, we are dedicated to this task, and you'll be seeing more sponsors now being unveiled.
Very successful corporate social responsible program, which we supported, and we will continue supporting by the players of the match every round and players of the round.
We want to see people back in the stadium. Mr. President, I have only two things to request you. One, bring people back to the stadium. Football is about people in the stadium. When they come in the stadium, discipline must be restored.
The round of 64 will be played this weekend, the 22nd and the 23rd of February, and the winners of the Mozartbet Cup will pocket 2 million shillings in prize money, as well as represent the country in the CAF Confederation Cup. Now, the world record holder in the women's marathon, Ruth Chepngetich, and reigning 800-meter world champion Emmanuel Wanyonyi are among the top athletes who have confirmed their participation in the 4th Absa Sirikwa Classic cross-country set for this Saturday in Eldoret.
Ruth Chepngetich, who became the first woman to finish a marathon in 2 hours and 9 minutes when she won the Chicago Marathon last year, will tussle for the 10-kilometer title at the Sirikwa Classic against New York Marathon winner Sheila Chepkurui and this year's national cross-country champion Brilliant Jepkorir.
The number of athletes that already invited is more than 1,000 because we have to use a different system in fighting because not everybody can just register and run because of the status of the race. We have also foreign athletes that have already confirmed that will be coming to compete from different parts of the world.
Emmanuel Wanyonyi will return to defend his last year's 2-kilometer loop title on Saturday, just days after reigning supreme at the national cross country.
The race has really grown, and of course we have different participants. Athletes that never competed before, and there were top athletes who will be competing, world record holders who will be there. And it has grown really huge. The interest, the sponsorship, and the support is there. And worldwide, we are also ranked as one of the best events. So that continuity is as a result of ABSA coming on board, and of course the main sponsor being the government. They have done their part ensuring that our athletes also benefit from what the government is giving them.
This year's edition will feature over 500 local athletes who will compete in 10-kilometer men and women, under 20 years, men and women, and the 2-kilometer loop for men and women.
We are very happy and proud to know that the communities, the parents from different schools, they have taken the initiative even to raise funds, to raise food for the kids so that they can go to the camps where we are not able to pay. And that is what we really wanted, to make sure that this thing also is owned by the families, is owned by the communities, that they are part and parcel of the development of the sports. They are aware. If you go to every competition now in Odim, parents are always there. Until now, we have to arrange even competitions for them.
Winners of the 10-kilometer races will be rewarded $6,000, silver medalists $5,000, while bronze medalists will pocket $4,000.
KBC is our studio, is our radio, is our TV.
The Absa Sirikwa Classic World Cross Country Tour is a gold label event that was introduced in the World Athletics calendar in 2022 and is held at the Lobo Village in Kapsaret, Eldoret.
Dismas Utuka, you got KBC mentioned. All the best in the media race on Saturday. Now, moving on is that the Kenya national men's basketball team, the Morans, will leave the country at dawn for the 2025 AfroBasket qualifiers set to take place in Libya from Friday to Sunday this week. Kenya will start their campaign with a match.
Goes inside, gonna have to put this up. Tough.
And Bandari FC have acquired 4 players as the transfer season window closes, with 13 matches remaining in the 2024-2025 FKF Premier League season. 2 of the 4 players were drawn from foreign clubs, while the others were signed from local clubs.
Newly acquired players who have signed contracts with Bandari are John Mark Makwata from Coastal Union in Tanzania, Kibwana Dennis Nganga from Zanaco Football Club in Zambia, Clifford Ouma from City Stars, and Ali Halafu from Congo Boys Football Club in Division 1. Despite their shock 3-2 defeat to Talanta over the weekend, Bandari are currently 6th on the FKF Premier League table with 32 points collected from 21 matches.
Tunaendelea na tuna imani vile timu ambavyo tumeiweka sasa hizi tutaweza kufanya katika malengo yaliyobakia.
Tutachangia sana na experience kwanza. Ndio tumewajoin kwa training, tumeona wengi wao pia ni wadogo. Kuna vitu kadhaa hawajazoea.
With the adapt kwa team, I think nitapush venye inawezekana. At least this season Bandari ibebe league.
I believe with my experience naweza add something valuable kwa team, na at the end of the season we all try to achieve something great.
Na feel mzuri sana. Hiyo ni hatua moja kubwa, Mungu amenijalia. Nimetimiza malengo yangu. Ni kitu chenye nilikuwa ninakitafuta sana, kucheza Premier. Na nashukuru nimefaulu.
Meanwhile, the second edition of the Tujiamini initiative has been launched with SportPesa pumping into the project 70 million shillings that will go into supporting the growth and development of talented individuals and teams' ambitions. With a restructured awards model, the 2025 festival commenced with a heartening community outreach initiative in Dandora. On the festival's final day, Kwale United were crowned the national champions. Eldoret FC finished second, while Central Region's Galacticos FC finished third. The three pocketed 100,000, 75,000 and 50,000 shillings respectively.
Hiyo jani yenu haishi hapa. Kama SportPesa tuna recognize talents, tunawapatia platform, tunataka mpande juu. Umeona kuna watu wanaenda Dubai kufanya cycling. Kuna watu wametravel pia kufanya athletics na wameanzia tu hapa kwa Tujiamini. Sisi tutaendelea kusupport na tutaendelea kuiongeza. Tunajua 2025 itakuwa kubwa. Tukiendelea mbele 2026, 27 zote zitakuwa kubwa.
The official launch of the new structure and vision for Tujiamini 2025 revealed that community-owned and led projects would take precedence as the gold category award every month with 1 million shillings allocation.
Well, that's the sport for tonight. I know all focus on the UEFA Champions League tonight. But besides that, on Friday, we've got Kenya versus Tunisia. We'll be breaking more news to you in the coming days. My name is Daniel Ohome. Thank you for being with us. Back to you, Irene.
Kenya versus Tunisia. What are your expectations?
Watu wajaze stadium. Go fill the stadium. This is our women's team. Friday afternoon. That's a plot.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for your feedback on our social media platforms. My name is Muchuma Odim. Our sign language expert tonight is Anne Wangeshe. For more details on ad items and much more, log on to www.kbc.co.ke. Good night. God bless you.
Probox kwa star 570 hash. Cheza sasa hivi, jipatie entry ticket ya kuingia kwenye draw ya kujishindia gari hili, ikiwa ni star 570 hash option 2, 3 na 4, au ingia kwa www.tushinde.com, register, deposit na ucheze. Weka ikawa ni yako. Cheza wakati wowote na ucheze mara kadhaa ili kujaza entry ticket zako kwenye draw ya ushindi. Inuka na Loto Moto.
I thought we could celebrate tonight, reflecting on our days together.
What's with the attitude? You are young. Can't you be more polite? The old grandpa has been in line for long. Why do you come and squeeze him to the back?
Apologize. Say you're sorry.
Why wait a few days? This is a great excuse, isn't it?
You free tonight?
Huh?
Didn't I say I owe you a meal before? Let's have it today. How about that?
A phone call from my son, the highest treatment. Really, he's the emperor, his majesty. I obey thy demand.